Welcome to our first unit. Our first unit is rational numbers, and our first topic under this unit is integers. So 1.1 for integers. So here we're looking at what is a set of integers. So a set of integers, it's defined as all the positive whole numbers that we see here on the right-hand side, all our negative whole numbers that we see on the left-hand side of 0, and integers also include 0. So in this set, we see the set in brackets, and then you'll see these 3 dots on the left-hand side and the right-hand side. Those 3 dots, they just mean that these numbers are going to continue on forever to infinity on both the left-hand side and the right-hand side. So that's what those 3 dots represent. Now we can show integers as well on a number line. So down here we see a number line. So again, we got 0. To the right of 0 we have our positive whole numbers, and on the left hand side of 0 we have our negative whole numbers. Now if we take this number line, it's a horizontal number line, and if we are creating our coordinate plane, you'll notice here we have our horizontal number line, which is called our x-axis in a coordinate plane. And then if we have our vertical number line, we have that representing the y-axis in a coordinate plane. All right, the center here is at 0, 0. That is called the origin. So again, notice from 0 to the right are the positive numbers, to the left are the negative. If we go up, they are positive. If we go down, they are the negative numbers. All right, so we are going to look at operations with integers today, and we'll start by looking at adding integers. All right, so when we are adding integers, the first rule for adding integers is if the signs are the same, you're just going to add the numbers and keep the same sign. So if you look at our first example, it's what you're used to. It's a positive 7 plus a positive 4. All right, so you're just adding 7 plus 4. All right, so that is just going to give us an answer of positive 11. So we can write positive 11, or you can just write 11. So I'm just going to write 11, okay? If you put the positive sign, that's okay as well, because we are working with integers, but that's not required. All right, our next example, it's a negative 6 plus the negative 7. All right, so our rule is add the numbers, but keep the same sign. So you're just going to add 6 and 7, but our sign will be negative. So this gives us negative 13. And the next question, we have 3 integers. They are all being added. So you just have to do this in steps. It's usually good to do it in steps here. So if we looked at negative 2 plus negative 5, that will give me negative 7. And then we're going to add the negative 8. And then that gives me my answer of negative 15. All right, so our next scenario here with adding integers is, what if the signs are different? So if the signs are different, we're going to subtract the numbers and take the sign of the numerically larger number. So here we have a positive 8 and we have the negative 3. All right, so the 2 signs are different, so we're going to subtract the 2 numbers. So 8 minus 3, which is 5. And now what sign do we take? We're going to take the sign of the numerically larger number. 8 is the larger number. It's a positive, so our answer is positive. All right, let's take a look at our next example. We have a negative 12 plus positive 4. So again, the signs are different. So we're going to subtract. So 12 minus 4, which gives me 8. but now we have to look at the sign. The 12 is a numerically larger number, and it's a negative. So we do have to make sure that we put it as a negative 8. Good. And let's try our last example here. It's a positive 13 plus the negative 7. So again, our signs are different. We're just going to subtract. So 13 minus 7, which is a 6. And then we're going to take the sign of the numerically larger number. 13 is the larger number. It's a positive. So we're going to leave this as a positive 6. So when we're subtracting integers, the rule is, there's only the one rule. If you're subtracting an integer, you add the opposite. So we're going to rewrite this, and it becomes, so for positive 4, we're going to add the opposite. So we're going to change this subtraction to adding, and we're going to change this positive 7 to negative 7. And now we just use our rules for adding. So positive 4 plus a negative 7, we are going to subtract and then take the sign of the numerically larger number. All right, so that's going to give me negative 3. All right, remember we subtract and then take the sign of the numerically larger number. So let's take a look at question B. It's a negative 9 minus positive 4. So our rule is whenever we're subtracting, we're going to add the opposite. So keep negative 9 the same. Change the subtraction to addition, and then change positive 4 to its opposite, which is negative 4. All right, so now we have addition, so we're just going to use our addition rules. Our signs are the same, so we're just going to add and keep the sign the same. So 9 plus 4, that's 13. Both signs are negative, so we're going to leave this as negative 13. All right, and our last one, we have negative 6 minus negative 7. So same thing, we're going to keep our first integer the same. We're going to change subtraction to addition, and then this becomes positive 7. Just like that. Okay, so the two signs are different, so we're just going to subtract and then take the sign of the numerically larger number. So it's going to be a positive 1. I'm just going to put it as 1. So just another example here, we have negative 8 minus negative 9. So because it's subtraction, we're going to change this to addition. We're going to keep our first integer the same, negative 8 plus. And then we have to take this integer here and change it to its opposite. So because it's a negative 9, we're going to change that to positive 9. All right, so now we have negative 8 plus positive 9. So we just subtract and then take the sign of the numerically larger number. All right, so this is a 1, because 9 minus 8 is 1. And our numerically larger number is 9, and it's positive, so it will be positive 1. So positive 1, or just write it as 1. All right, so next we're looking at multiplying and dividing integers. So rule 1 is the product or quotient of two positive integers is always positive. All right, so one thing to note here are brackets beside brackets. Anytime you have a bracket right beside a bracket and there's no operation in between, that means multiplication. All right, so here is positive 3 times positive 6, which is just going to be positive 18. So I'm just going to write it as 18. All right, and then here 56 divided by 7, or positive 56 divided by positive 7, it is positive 8. All right, here, when the product or quotient of a positive and a negative integer, it's always going to be negative. Okay, so here we have positive 9 multiplied by negative 5. That is going to be negative. So negative 45. All right, here division, it's negative 36 divided by positive 9. Our answer is negative 4. Rule 3, the product or quotient of two negative integers will always become positive. So two negatives being multiplied together, it will become positive. So negative 5 times negative 7, that becomes positive 35. Negative divided by negative, so negative 63 divided by negative 7, that's going to become positive. It's going to be 9. And the last rule is if you have a lot of integers like this, so the product or quotient of n, which is a number of integers, depends on the number of negatives. So if you have an even number of negatives, you'll get a positive answer. If you have an odd number of negatives, it'll give you a negative answer. So let's count how many negatives we have in our first example. So this one is negative, 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 and negative. So there's 4 negatives. 1, 2, 3, 4. So because there's 4 negatives, our answer is going to be a positive answer. All right, so right away you know it's going to be a positive answer. Now you can just go ahead and multiply. So 2 times 3 times 4 times 3 times 2 times 1. And that gives us 144. And because we already counted how many negatives there are, we already know it's going to be a positive answer. All right, if we look at our second example, we have negative, negative, negative. We have 3 negatives here, so we know right away that our answer will be negative. Then you can go ahead and do the division. So 48 divided by 6, pick your answer, and then divide it by 2, and our answer is 4, negative 4. All right, so first question, we have negative 9 divided by negative 3 multiplied by negative 2. So we're just going to do this in steps. We're going to do this first part, negative 9 divided by negative 3. That gives me 3. And then I'm going to multiply by negative 2. And that gives me my answer of negative 6. And I think most students did get that one. All right, so let's try this one here. And again, I'm going to do it in steps. I'm going to go from left to right. Okay, so we have negative 9 plus positive 3. That gives me negative 6. And then we still have the minus positive 6. So minus the positive 6, and then plus positive 5. All right, so I answered the first part and I just brought everything else down again. So now I'm going to do the next step, which is negative 6 minus positive 6. That becomes negative 12. And then I still have the plus the positive 5. So now I have negative 12 plus 5, which is negative 7. So the answer is negative 7 for that question. All right, with this example, we have a negative 1. We're just going to keep that negative 1 on the outside. And then we have in brackets, we have 3 integers. So we're going to do the first two. Positive 6 plus negative 7, that gives me negative 1. So negative 1, and then we still have the plus the negative 6. So plus negative 6, and that's still in the square bracket. So we still have to work with this first. So I'm going to do this again now next. So negative 1 is still on the outside, and then negative 1 plus negative 6, that gives me negative 7. Just like that. And now we have multiplication. It's negative 1 times negative 7, which gives me an answer of positive 7.